NASA has announced that now is a good time to focus on Venus, following previous revelations about life on the planet. If you look at NASA records from the 1960s, you'll see that Venus is often considered a negative planet, while Mars appears to be the main focus of space exploration. During the intense space race, the Soviet Union made Venus the focus of its attention. Although it did not show any promise for life, the Venera project continued until the fall of the Soviet Union. Thanks to the work of Neil deGrasse Tyson and others, we now have a better understanding of this period. Join us in exploring the photos of Venus taken by the Soviet Union. The fall of the Soviet Union not only changed the political landscape of the world, but also overshadowed many scientific achievements. The Soviets' penchant for secrecy, from their espionage to their ability to spy on foreign countries, kept much of their activities unknown for years. Before the United States began exploring the planets, the Soviet Union led the way, especially on Venus. The Venera mission, named after the Russian word for Venus, lasted from 1961 to 1983. While the U.S. focused on the Moon, the Soviets chose Venus, a decision that many still struggle with. Did they see a strong colonial and military power in Venus? Most of what we know comes from classified documents, but questions about what the Soviets did afterward remain unanswered. The Soviet Union's interest in Venus led them to conduct 28 missions, 13 of which entered the Venusian atmosphere and 8 landed on land. These missions strengthened the Soviet Union's dominance in space exploration. They were the first to send probes into the atmosphere of a planet and the first to make a soft landing on Venus. Despite these monumental achievements, these missions are rarely mentioned today, partly due to the Soviet tendency to keep things secret. After the USSR's collapse, much of their space program's history was either lost or destroyed, leaving many questions unanswered. Why did the Soviet Union invest so much in Venus? Some speculate it was due to the planet's relative proximity to Earth, being only 40 million kilometers away compared to Mars's 250 million kilometers. The shorter distance meant lower mission costs, which was important for the USSR, given its more limited economic resources compared to the US. While Mars became NASA's primary focus, the Soviet Union saw Venus as an equally valuable target, albeit for different reasons. Soviet missions to Venus were not technically challenging, but they were persistent. On the other hand, the United States has met with many failures in its missions to Venus, leading some to believe in the curse of Venus from NASA. The Soviets were instrumental in the success of the Venera program and demonstrated their technological superiority at the critical moment of the space race. In the 1960s, the Soviet Union achieved its first major success by sending Venera 3 into the atmosphere of Venus, the first time a spacecraft had collided with another planet. This achievement increased competition with the United States. Soviet success continued with Venera 4 and 5, the first double launch aimed at collecting large-scale data on the surface and atmosphere of Venus in the mid-1970s. The Venera project entered a more advanced phase. Venera 7 made history as the first spacecraft to transmit data from the surface of another planet. Later, Venera 13 captured the first color panoramic images of Venus, giving humans the first glimpse of the planet's surface. These missions paved the way for planetary exploration, particularly the development of thermal materials and reliable communication systems. Venera's work is not just about technology. They have great social and political impact. During the Cold War, the Soviet Union saw space exploration as a way to demonstrate its technological and intellectual superiority over the United States. Today, although the Venera missions are largely forgotten, their legacy lives on. It is important to understand not only Venus, but also the development of science and technology. The data collected from Venus has helped us understand its extreme climate, including atmospheric pressure cracks, extreme heat, and toxic gases containing carbon dioxide. These efforts continue to influence the design of future spacecraft, including those sent to Mars and beyond. Looking to the future, Russia's space agency Roscosmos has renewed interest in Venus. Together with NASA, they are planning a new Venera mission that will be launched in the late 2020s or early 2030s. The mission aims to explore Venus' atmosphere, geology, and signs of life, contributing to our new understanding of this mysterious planet. Venera 13 provided scientists with a lot of information, including the first color images of the surface of Venus. The images show the world's rugged terrain, volcanic plains, and steep cliffs, all under thick air and clouds. The images confirmed the rough shape of Venus, but opened the door to new questions about its past. Venera's work is not just a technical triumph. They fueled humanity's desire to push the boundaries of space exploration. As the superpowers of the Cold War continued to compete, the Soviet Union's achievements at Venus represented their prowess in space exploration. The data collected by these missions, particularly on Venus's climate and atmospheric composition, played an important role in helping scientists understand the concept of the greenhouse effect. Keep going. Venus's high carbon dioxide concentration and extreme heat suggest future planet conditions under certain environmental conditions. Experiences from Venus remain a warning of the consequences of climate change. Despite the success of the Venera project, as Soviet resources dwindled in the 1980s, attention to Venus began to decline. Mars is more interesting and holds more promise for colonization and the discovery of life. After overcoming the initial failures, NASA turned to the Red Planet and began successful efforts. In retrospect, the Venera missions stand as a remarkable chapter in the history of space exploration. They proved that even with the technological limitations of the time, humanity could reach and study one of the most hostile environments in our solar system. Today, as we look towards Mars and beyond, the legacy of Venera reminds us that exploration is often driven by curiosity, competition, and a desire to understand the unknown. Venus may no longer be the primary target for space agencies today, but with renewed interest in its potential for past habitability, collaborations like the planned Venera mission could see humanity returning to our sister planet to unlock more of its secrets. Venus, once dismissed as a dead world, may still hold the key to understanding both our past and the future of planetary science.